Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of the X7 Update Show. My name is Callum, your host for today, and I have the absolute pleasure of being joined by Liam, the founder of OP Media, former manager of KSI, and current manager of some of the biggest influencer names in the UK. How are you doing today, Liam?
Very good. Just cracking on with a whole load of things, and nice to have a little lunch break and chat to you.
Lovely. Take a break for being busy. I imagine you've got lots on your plate at the moment.
Yeah, loads of good calls this morning of different projects, and but obviously boxing is the majority of our time these days.
Exactly.
The way the industry's growing, and Brassin's getting heavily involved with it. But obviously we manage people outside the boxing and different projects and different talent who don't fight as well. So it's we try and cover all bases evenly. Even though my passion is this boxing world right now.
All right, so I mean, it seems to be that boxing's taken the main focus, and everyone seems to forget there's a whole other side to it. Because of course you manage a broad range of people, as you mentioned, not just the likes of sort of Deji, sort of Anisom Given, the such who are involved with the boxing. I believe also you've got sort of like the likes of like Ali and Jelly who you take care of as well.
Yeah.
Well, I can't imagine there's any chance for them coming into the boxing anytime soon.
No chance. No results. They're they've got their own different interests and families, and Ali's got a young child now as well. Yeah, obviously, the little lifestyle things going on there. But they're such professionals in their own field. You know, they're so busy with recording and coming up with video ideas, mainly in the gaming world, of course. So their sessions of gaming and recording and editing and putting content out is just as busy as these guys in the gym. It's just a slightly different sort of toll. It's more a mental toll than a physical one. Absolutely.
I mean, they're still at the top of their game, and they have been for quite a while. Ali in particular is still very much on top.
Yeah, one of the OGs. Yeah, he was our first guy we managed. It was actually just early 2012. Yeah, and then it was only a month later. Well, Ali, oh gosh, and I mean, I have talked about that a while ago. Yeah, he was our first guy we signed, followed by KSI about a month later, actually back in 2012. But it's a bit of a story the way I moved from a previous sales director role at a big multinational company, how I got into the YouTube management side of things, and inviting Ali to a gaming event actually to come and get access to the Call of Duty game that was coming out that year. And really it was just introducing him to different businesses and gaming publishers, because I was in the games business. And just walking around these conventions like E3 and Gamescom, it was quite obvious it was an opportunity for somebody to take somebody like Ali under their wing, really, and add that sort of professional element. Don't forget, he was still in school and he was very young, and businesses and brands didn't want to work with people like Ali in those days because they were just considered kids playing games in their bedroom. There was no control over content. They were risky. Could they show their brand in a good light? Why wouldn't they just do a TV marketing campaign where they can have complete control over it? So I just took it upon myself to educate the world and marketing teams of brands and agencies all around the world to show them that this world of YouTube and this audience can be tapped into if done in the right way. And so by adding that sort of professionalism of presentations and the business side of things, I took Ali on. Quite soon after those gaming conventions we hung out with, really, and because he came out of them looking and seeing the opportunity. I don't know how to do any of this. I don't know who to call, what to call, but I need an agent. And so I've cut out most of the story of how I got to that point, but it was just a perfect fit. I was in the right place at the right time to actually give it a go and try it. And I've always been a salesperson, so I called every single brand I could think of that may be a similar sort of target market than these gamers audiences. And quite quickly I had him a 3-year Monster Energy deal where he was hanging out with Lewis Hamilton and been racing around tracks to not instantly. It took a few weeks and months of meetings, but I really, really pushed it hard back then and opened a few doors to these guys to what it is now, really. Yeah.
And clearly done a really great job, and it's obviously blown up even more from then.
Yeah, exactly.
As you say, a lot of the sort of influencers now, especially in the UK, is with the whole boxing. One of the main sort of fighters we got is obviously Deji, and sort of word is that he may be fighting quite a few times this year, sort of 3 times as we go through. can we sort of expect to see him in the ring that many times? Have we seen him quite a few times? And who's
quite hard
sort of potential opponents be?
Well, we can't say how many times yet. I mean, it's obviously how often would you like to, but there's an ideal world, and then there's this world of boxing. It's some guys will just fight anybody anytime. Slim's done it for a few months, and he's now realised he can't keep that sort of level of activity up. People like Anthony Taylor just get in every month, any card they will. Deji's not like that. He still wants to get on and get back into it. He's making content now. Obviously had a bit of a downtime after the Mayweather fight as well. He's now back in the gym with Daly as of now, literally now, and looking towards getting his skills and his fitness back up, ready for any of these fights that do drop. So he can go into camp not from a completely cold position, but from a fairly mid-level fitness and just fairly sharp. So it's tricky with Deji because obviously opponents are a tricky thing. He would love to just do the big celebrity Mayweather type fights each time, which is just not going to happen 3 or 4 times a year. No, exactly. I mean, if you were to say to him, who do you want to fight? He'll say, Justin Bieber, Tom Cruise, Kevin Hart. They'll just call out these big names. And whereas 1 or 2 of them over the next 5 years might get in a ring with someone, and it could well be Deji, it doesn't necessarily mean those are fights that you can make and build towards and have as part of your schedule. So it's hard. Do we wait and hold out for these sort of big, sort of entertaining celebrity or MMA crossover type ones, or does he get back in the mix with the sort of misfits type crowd and the level of guys who are a fairly strong level, that sort of tier of similar weight classes from the Slims, the Gibbs, the Pappies, the Kennys, the Swingler, all those guys in that sort of level? Does he need to mix it with those guys? Well, no, he doesn't need to, does he? Because he's just fought Floyd Mayweather. No. What's the point in, what can they bring him? So he is in that tier where you've obviously got KSI and Jake Paul. You could consider Logan there. And Deji's in and amongst around that level, and then it's the next tier, really. So it's a case of anybody he fights, there isn't much for him to gain other than a paycheck. Yes, he wants to, when he does them, he needs to be paid correctly. He brings a lot of influence, and obviously we've come up with the value based on his promotional stuff as well. But it's who does he fight? So there are options out there I can't talk about. One that is always being touted at the moment is our friend Swarms after the Misfits. And Deji does like that. He does like those who make it slightly easier for him in terms of the promo. If Swarms is calling him out and doing diss tracks, Deji can get involved with that, and he likes that build up, not just the training, not just the fighting side. So even though at first his reaction was, no, go away, you're not on my level, I don't need you, whatever. Equally, it'd be like, well, it could be quite an interesting build-up, and the fans may want to see that, actually. I mean, I think people have taken to Swarms, haven't they, even though haven't seen enough of Win. His win, it is what it was. But I mean, for a minute, he looked a lot sharper and physically better, didn't he? And he looked like he got some footwork. So it'd be interesting to see how good he actually could be or where he's at. So he needs to fight again, whether it's versus somebody else before Deji or not Deji at all. We're having those discussions. Obviously, Mams and Misfits are very busy, as we are with Twingler, obviously headlining the next event in a month's time. Obviously, tickets go on sale soon, and there's a lot of work going on with Jay behind the scenes. He's training really hard. But what it means is they're not really necessarily focused on their future events just yet in terms of offers and negotiations and matchmaking, even though we're always talking about possibilities throughout the year. Obviously, Mams is busy with each card each time. But yeah, we're in touch with them. We're in touch with a whole bunch of promotions. As you've seen them popping up around the world now. There was Global Tides. Now there's the Saudi guys doing the Jake Paul, Tommy Fury fight. Others in the scene who come and go. So, even though we think that the Misfits Swarms fight at some stage could be a fun one, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be that, because Deji needs to have people competing for him to make sure the value and the terms and timing are what he wants.
Oh, exactly. It all needs to work and to gel together properly for it to be possible. Obviously, it's one because everyone wanting to see it, but actually just needs to work as well.
Yeah, and this is the thing with the timing and saying, I want to fight three times this year. Would that be all on the same promotion? Would that be one-offs? Would it be? And that, in with that, it lies a tricky when you're negotiating with different promotions, because they obviously want you to stay on their promotion, and nobody wants people jumping around all over the place. But ultimately, it's what's best for the fighter, isn't it? And
definitely.
if there's not a card coming up in the right location, like he'd obviously prefer to fight in the UK than out of Mongolia in, on a non-pay-per-view line filler card. Yeah, so it's hard to find the A to B to C. But with Deji, it's okay because he's not too worried about exactly when he fights. It's not like I need a warm-up fight or I need a fight now and I need to be active. He'll fight as it makes sense. And that's slightly different to some of these other guys who just want to be out there every few months. So we have got a bit more patience with Deji, but we can't leave it too long. We definitely want to get him back in the ring. Maybe certainly not in February or March, but hopefully not too long after that.
So we'll be seeing him soon, hopefully.
Oh yeah, first half of the year.
Hopefully. That's what we like to hear. Now, also, as you mentioned just there as well, you've got Jay Swingler, obviously, with his upcoming fight as well.
Yeah.
What can we sort of be expecting to see from him if he does come out on top in that fight? Is it sort of going to be him transitioning and taking a break for a while? Is he going to be looking immediately at taking on some bigger opponents? Or
yeah, no, Jay's taking this mega seriously. People go, it's just another easy little fight. That's just Jay's storyline to belittle his opponent, really. But he does see it like that too. But it's not through want of trying. I think there were 4 or 5 opponents we had lined up for Jay for this February event. Even though it's not a non-pay-per-view event, it's a smaller venue. It's not a KSI-led premium sort of top Misfits event, but it's still going to be a great card, great event, as they all are. But we had 3 or 4 guys lined up for Jay who pulled out. There was 3 or 4 to pick from, and a couple of them were considered probably by the community, he's a bit easy, or he's just come off a loss, and blah blah blah. So we didn't take those. So this was a guy who was very adamant that he was good. We'd heard from some other people he'd sparred with that he was decent. Overlook the boyish looks. The guy also comes with 20 million YouTube subscribers, so there is a bit of a story there and a bit of an ego attached to it. And Jay has been able to play off a little bit on these Twitter spaces and just on social media against Nick LMAO, however you pronounce his name, Nick. Just call him Nick. So I just think people don't know enough about him, and he looks so boyish, and Jay teases him, you just look soft, I'm just going to walk through you. But that's on the face of it, that's what it is. But I do hear he's actually all right. It sounds like he's going to be a lot better than Churdley's, but we had no idea how good Churdley's was. And literally, again, it was like the only person we could match him up with at the time. That was his comeback fight. And yes, he didn't want to get back in the mix with the Kennys and the Slims and that level of people after 4 years when these guys have had 2 or 3 fights in the last year. That was never going to happen. This time he would have stepped up. And he probably has, actually. I think people are underestimating this guy. I think it'll be a much better fight. Jay's going to come through it, of course. He's absolutely focused, and he's a machine. His training is as tough as anybody's. We were having a chat this morning, planning some other things outside back boxing, him and the TGF guys, and what we can do with it. Don't quote me on this. We'd love to get Ramel in the ring at some stage if he wants to, because he trains with him. But you see all this tag team type thing at the moment. Wouldn't the TGF tag team be something else if that ever happened? So it's who knows how that evolves on the boxing side. But Jay's got other things. He's got his childish brand. He wants to, as I say, do TGF filming, get back in there. A few of the initiatives we were talking about. He just wants to be active all the time. Although boxing is going to take up a lot of this year, and he wants to take it very seriously, not through a few opponents, and then people will be talking on the same level as some of these other guys.
And see where it goes from there. We'll just have to wait and see that all the training does pay off. There's not long to go now until the fight actually does take place. So make sure everyone go and watch that fight. I'm sure it'll be a very entertaining.
It'll be a blinder. Yeah, and it's not even a pay-per-view. Just everyone should have DAZN by this point, or if they've not, it's an obvious thing to get. There's 6 of those events at least a year. It's an easy subscription with loads of great content, and it's only going to get bigger. So yeah, if you've not got DAZN, get on it. If you've already got DAZN, you haven't got to pay for another event. You've already got it. It's there free.
Get on it now. Just get very prepared for it. It's
going to be great. It's in Jay's hometown now as well. It's going to be an atmosphere.
How do you feel? Even more atmosphere.
Yeah. It's a great venue. I mean, no disrespect to Telford, it's not going to be the most salubrious, lovely venue for all the teams to be staying at.
Probably.
Which I think the Americans coming over and be like, what the hell have I done here? So that's a good advantage for the UK home guys. But the venue's good. BT Sport used it for a lot of their championship fights. In fact, one of who trains with Jay, Liam Davis, British champion. He does all his BT Sport fights out of this the Telford International Centre. It's actually a really nice venue. It's not a huge O2 arena. It's like 5,000-6,000 capacity. It's the atmosphere
still generate that atmosphere.
Yeah, it's like a cold one. Yeah, it's going to be great.
I'm sure it will be. And of course, as well, another person that people really can't seem to stop talking about is obviously Gib as well. After the sort of rumours he'd been offered the Mayweather fight, sort of talks for a potential Misfits fight as well. People are very eager to see him come back into the ring. Could we sort of be expecting maybe to see him on a Misfits card at some point? Do you think he'll be back in the ring again soon? Or is it something that he needs more time for?
More time to we can't announce certain things. There are a lot of talks with Gib, and I think this is the confusion. He's getting a lot of bad press at the moment from the community because he's not fighting, and people's perception are he's not fighting because he's asking for too much money. Couldn't be further from the truth. It was completely, it was inadvertent, and JJ did a tweet, didn't he? He said, he was asked in an interview or on Twitter, why is Gib not on Misfits? And JJ replied, he just wants too much money. Wrong. We didn't even have that negotiation with Mams. Mams did quote a number, which he then tweeted a number, but we never went any further than that, and we never asked for a particular number. We never told them the number they needed because we were already in very deep negotiations and had actually verbally agreed and created the Mayweather fight. So it wasn't even an option. The timing wasn't right. He wasn't going to fight in January. He wasn't in camp. I think I said on the Wade interview, Gib has to prepare his camps in advance quite a way because his head coach, Abdul, lives in Oman and works for the UFC. So he has to give time off and come back. Yes, Gib's in the gym a lot with Leon and keeping fit, but in terms of boxing training and boxing camp, it's it takes a bit of planning. So there was no way he was ready off the Brumi year he's had to go into that fight with Misfits. And it wasn't an option. It wasn't a negotiation of, you need to pay me more, otherwise I'm not fighting. He never once quoted a price. We never discussed it. That was just people thinking, well, Misfits is the only option right now. Why is he ducking Slim? Why is he ducking Temper? Why is he not accepting these Misfits idea? He must be asking for too much money. Couldn't have been anything else. We had two other options. We had the Mayweather fight, and I was also talking to the Saudi guys who do the Jake Paul Tommy. That's not MVP, by the way. That's a Saudi Arabian promoter.
Right.
And they are just two fighters on that thing. So people are like, just to divulge into that one, people were saying, how dare he go and fight on a Jake Paul promotion that's, against KSI and his boys in the UK. Again, no, we never once talked to Jake Paul or Nikiza or MVP. We talked to their matchmaker who worked for the Saudi guys. And at that point, Jake Tommy wasn't actually a guarantee. They wanted it like two other promotions wanted that fight. And we were just talking co-mains and undercards if that happened. So it never once was involving Jake Paul, and that was irrelevant to him fighting on that. But we declined that one quite early on too. It was misreported, wasn't it? Gibbs, going to be on that card with Adam Salah and all these people. Yeah, we pitched it and we were talking about it, but it never went too far because we thought we would definitely get in this Mayweather fight. I created the opportunity with Mayweather's manager. Floyd wanted to come to the UK. We had the date, February the 25th. We had the venue, the O2 Arena. We had the investors in place. We agreed our deal with the investors for Gib. Everything was locked down. It was all ready. It just needed the investors and Floyd's team to agree the percentage splits or whatever from the different revenue and the pay-per-views and the ticket sales, etc. With Floyd, they couldn't come to an agreement quick enough.
And that's now that fight been going in.
Yeah, because it got to the point where they couldn't agree it. The investors were getting a bit worried about how little time there was to promote it, to sell tickets and build it. And same with Gib, because Gib loves a big long build up, and he loves all the content back and forward, and he needs time to go and film these extravagant promotional videos. But also he needed a certain amount of time notice, knowing it was a signed deal, to assemble his camp and his team. He wasn't just in training, just ready to go. And when it got to a few weeks ago, it was literally we had a cut-off point where he just can't assemble a team fast enough to get more than 2 weeks training in before this fight date. And so we just had to decline with respect. The deal had changed. The investors had gone cold. They couldn't agree the deal with Floyd. We pulled out. So there you go. Gib could have just taken a lot more money and just done it on notice, but he wanted to be in good shape to perform well. And and do himself justice. That was more important than here's the paycheck we've agreed. Yes, that paycheck was wobbling, but we did then TMT themselves said, well, we're just going to fund it and we will agree a revenue share with you. Now, going into contracts with TMT, you never know whether how good an idea that is. Yeah. But it was there. They were doing the event. Does Gibb want it? We can't physically do it now because it's too late. Hence why then suddenly, 2 days later, they got a reserve in Liam Harrison. He pulled out. They got who's the reality show guy? Who's the guy fighting Floyd now?
Aaron
Chalmers.
I think so.
I remember. Yeah. So
actually.
Yeah. So they were just reserved, and they obviously just accepted it really quickly and wanted the fight. Whereas Gibb had more consideration to it. So the point is, therefore, we missed out on those two, and he wasn't ready. Misfits was never even an option. It wasn't like we need more money to go on Misfits. It was because we really did think the Mayweather fight was there, and it was done and dusted. So just to put that on the record, Gibb wasn't negotiating.
Hasn't worked out. Obviously, there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes that people don't even consider or take into account when these fights are being planned. And that's how, as you say, all the misinformation comes around about the reasons, and then everything just goes all up in the air and a bit out of control. Do you think that a Mayweather fight would be possible at all? Or is it something?
I'd like to think so. I mean, they'll be upset that we said no to it because Floyd's obviously pretty used to people jumping at those opportunities, and it was a great opportunity. And Gibb had real FOMO and was back and forward for a few days. Do we just do it anyway? Just do it anyway? And then when he talked to his team, his team being his coach and Abdul, it was like we can't do this properly. I'm sure it will come around again. It may not come around again because we basically declined the Mayweather's openly said why as well. So I think it'll probably be, not too fast. But if it comes around again, we've got a relationship. We do have a communication line. I know them well enough, obviously, from doing the Global Titans with Deji. So we can keep. I'll always be across of what they're doing, and I'll always know whether there is an opportunity in the future. But for now, we've moved on.
Absolutely, may as well to see what happens in the future. Definitely.
Yep.
And I mean, well, something else to sort of change the topic slightly. We've seen some action on Twitter with KSI and Joe Runner going back and forth with each other again. Do you think personally there'd be any opportunity for them to get back into the ring together, or is that literally just
Joe for a few years, ever since JJ beat him, has never been able to move on from the embarrassment in his mind of that defeat, and there's always been that case of at some stage I'd love to get back in the ring and put it right, and not against KSI, that is, and it's against anybody. But I think Joe is quite a realist as well. The amount of effort and time and stress it takes to go back in the ring and what it took out of him last time always outweighs the benefits of actually going in it and maybe winning. So Joe's busy traveling, doing his music things, DJ stuff. He's having a good time at the moment. He stays fit, but more in a sort of a gym way rather than a fighting way. But no, there's no. The longer it goes on, the less likely Joe is to come back in now. And I think also because the standards are growing up, he's been left behind as well. If it was where it was, if it was just the whole industry was just picking up again now, Joe would probably fancy himself. But I think he's left it so long, and there's a whole bunch of guys now way above him. He would need to really dedicate himself in the same way as Swingler is to catch these guys up and then compete on their level. And I think he realizes that is a complete lifestyle choice. And
definitely,
it's one of those things where it's like, I've been through it. I don't think it's worth it right now. But equally, it will never go away, and it will always be discussed and considered. Every time I speak to him, what you're thinking about boxing right now, and he pauses sometimes, and you can see he's thinking about it. Would love to do it, and then other times it's just flat, not even on the agenda now. And the longer we go on, the further away it seems to be like.
The less likely it will be. I mean, maybe we'll see him. Who knows? Only time.
Who knows?
So, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, let's look at this realistically. Aside from other promotions, Misfits have got this 4 or 5 year deal. Gosh, how much have they done in a year? Who knows in the next couple of years where different leagues and divisions and levels and competitiveness might be at, and where Joe might be able to fit back in. That said, Joe and JJ and Joe and Mams had their falling outs, but Joe's not. I mean, all these sort of guys, they do keep some sort of grudge, don't they? But there's no reason why that air can't be cleared, because I think both sides realise that's quite a good talking point. It's quite a good promotional piece, actually.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, I actually haven't had the chance to watch the new documentary or see KSI in real life.
Okay.
Come out on Amazon. I'm not sure if sort of anything with Joe has been touched on in there, exactly what goes on. But just sort of whilst we're on that, obviously it's come out, it's shot right to the top of the charts on Amazon. Everyone's absolutely loving it. Know that you attended the premiere. First of all, what did you think of it? What was your sort of feeling when you were watching it?
Well, it's fantastic. I mean, I actually created that deal. It took me a year to do that. This was before Yes. So it was when I was still managing JJ during the COVID period, when JJ was like, right, I'm working at home. JJ's in a music studio with Mams and the guys working on his music career. And that was the period where we sort of handed over to Mams as the general manager, because, literally, what can I do? I'm not a music guy. He's not going to be fighting. He can't get out and do shoots with brands. He really wants to go after this music career, and that was the full focus. So it absolutely made sense. They did that. So while they were doing that, what was I doing? I was pitching the documentary. So I managed to close that deal. Took about a year of negotiations. Don't forget, this is before he's blown up in music. So it was a sell based on YouTube and a bit of boxing at that point. So it was a harder sell than it would be now with this superstar who's top of the charts around the world doing amazing things. Yeah, but what it did do, therefore, we got the deal done and started filming at a time where it's captured that entire momentum. It captured everything from since, let's say that the last time I was working properly was, I did the KSI Logan Paul to the Zone deal and opened that mainstream, and that's when sort of music opened up. It's at that point where I started doing the Amazon negotiation. It was just after the Gibb Jake Paul fight when COVID hit. It was like, right, what's next? This is the next thing for KSI. And so, I've been right across the entire process, and it's been a long, 18 months to 2 years of making this film. Yes, I've not been on set with all the things, but I've known every shoot they've been going on, because I've had to help them with clearances and access to people. And obviously, Deji, when you see the thing, Deji is in it a lot.
Right.
There's an awful lot of Deji and family things, so I had to be across all that side of things because we managed Deji. But the access, everything, from even in a picture, they're filming around JJ's new house, for example. And he's got a picture on the wall painted by. I mean, actually, you see this Logan Paul KSI picture here. That's actually a pencil drawn hand picture. It's not a photo. Really? Yes, it's by. She won't mind me mentioning this was a young fan of JJ's called Jess Wiseman, who's a very, very incredible artist, and she just approached us way back then to do and she did a picture for me here, and she did a picture for JJ, one of his fight week poses, which is hand drawn, which he's got up in his new house, and just that. So, for example, there's a picture in the back of one of the shots as he walks down the hall. Do you know who painted that? No. I just happen to know who it was, but to the level of every single thing like that person who did that, and that person who did that photo, or that bouncer who's walked past at the back of the boxing ring there, do you know who they are? Because we need to get a release form so we could show them, or that picture in the documentary. Imagine 2 years of the amount of things that are seen in this filming. Yeah.
Imagine.
So, and there's all the music clearances as well, and what was this track that Deji used in this, or can we use this, or do you know somebody who might know that? So it's been a really long logistical pain for so long. So when you actually see it all come together, it is phenomenal. They've done an incredible job.
I can imagine, especially when everyone's enjoying it as much as they are as well. And
it's brilliant. It was almost like my sort of final thing, handing JJ here's the next sort of the final piece of work I can do for you to help you develop, and move on to the next step again. In the same way as we did the boxing, we've launched the music, we've done this to help him and his team, take him on to the next step and keep smashing it globally. So very proud of it, and it's it was great to see it come together.
Amazing achievement, obviously, an amazing achievement. That's wonderful. And obviously with all of that going on as well, and sorry, what was I going to say? Sorry, it slipped my mind.
You know?
Oh, sorry, I'll forget it. I'll move on. So just in terms of obviously both KSI and Deji having their boxing careers fully developed now, both highly talented, working really hard all the time to sort of work on themselves. Just sort of quickly, who do you think sort of had the most natural instinct for sort of boxing or fighting? Who was the most keen to get into it?
Well, JJ was the most keen to get into it, but he said himself he always felt Deji, if he had the same level of ambition for the sport and put the same amount of time and effort in as him, JJ himself, it was his words saying he thought Deji had the better natural ability. Obviously, there are size difference, and they're fighting. Deji was fighting way above his weight right from the beginning with Jake Paul, as JJ was with Logan. To be fair, but in terms of natural ability, JJ felt Deji had a natural aptitude for it. Not that JJ didn't, but his work ethic and ambition to keep on the pedestal as number one in the scene, whether that's YouTube or whatever it be. That driving factor obviously took him, some would say, above where Deji's level is at. But obviously you can't forget Deji's just fought Floyd, and that does make a bit of a difference. But equally, he has lost a few times, whereas KSI hasn't, and hopefully he will.
So there's a good level of competitiveness between them.
Yeah, no, there is. But Deji equally, he appreciates his brother's support and his lack of support or motivational methods of slagging him off sometimes for not when he needs a bit of a kick up the arse. And Deji, whether he likes it or not at the time, he does appreciate it after the time. And you see that a lot actually in the documentary. That dynamic's fantastic. You see them behind the scenes of the Deji fight, the Deji Wasabi fight actually, and we got good access to that. And and then Deji to then move on and beat Fuzi. It was a great moment. So they are a team. But Deji does like to operate in his own lane, which is only fair. He's got his own career. Can't always just be carried by JJ or motivated by him. JJ can't give that time to Deji anyway because he's got his own career, his own training, his own work to do. But they'll always be supporters of one another for sure.
Amazing, wonderful. I mean, it'd be obviously, as you say, with so much going, it'd be interesting to see what happens with both their careers in the coming years.
Absolutely, yeah. JJ's off the charts, isn't he? But I'm now watching from afar, really, and just proud that I was part of 10 years of that, and then able to give a few, leg ups here and there to help them on.
And now you could do the same for other people.
The guys, yeah, exactly, yeah. Like a good project.
Yes, absolutely. And obviously now we've spoken a lot about other people, so just to finish things off here, I've got a couple of rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
So we can get to know you a little bit. All right. There's nothing too deep. Don't worry. Just a couple of random questions. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So, favorite TV show at the moment?
Rapid fire.
I
there's loads I want to watch, and I'm being told are really good. But the one I like that I'm in the middle of at the moment is The Watcher.
Oh, good choice. Very good choice. I think I've watched an episode of that. I should probably watch it more.
First episode's brilliant.
That's what I say. I think I watched the first one and intended to watch more and just haven't got around to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, favourite musician?
A favourite band is actually Muse of all time. Yeah. I think Matt Bellamy, the frontman of Muse, I think is the greatest musician of our generation, actually.
Bold claim.
Yeah. No, it just genuinely is. Like, there's three of them that make noise of an orchestra, and he is an insane singer, guitar player, piano player. And if you ever go to a Muse gig, the production levels of these absolute anthems, there's three of them on stage, and he is 90% of what goes on.
Right.
I'd say Muse are my favourite band of all time, and he's the single best musician, yeah.
There you go. If you haven't heard them, go and check them out. We've got good acclaim there for them. A good vouch. Favourite holiday destination? Take some time. If you do get some time off, where'd you like?
Yeah, there's different, because obviously I've got a family and kids, so if I wasn't with the kids, my favourite is Maldives. I've been there. Seychelles is great too. Just pure luxury, snorkeling, chilling out on the beach, swimming, eating really well. Those are the two best destinations on the planet. Yeah.
Amazing. Just finally, what's your favourite social media news page?
Dear. Yeah. You know, you're going to get me in trouble here by saying X7, but yeah, X7.
Perfect. Amazing. That's all we wanted to hear. Lovely. Well, as I say, listen, a very, very big thank you again to you, Liam, for speaking with me today. As I say, it's been an absolute privilege, an absolute pleasure to be able to speak to you. Anything else you wanted to sort of let people know before we finish up?
No, just reiterate, you know, we've got some great fights coming up. We can't announce too many. Obviously, when I rarely do these interviews because I have things I can't say. You know, sometimes the interviews to be me just saying, sorry, no comment. Obviously, we know there's Swingler fight coming up. We know there's potential Gibbs stuff in the works. We know Deji wants to get back in the ring. As these things are able to be released and things are actually signed, you know, then you know, announced within a plan, I'm more than happy to come back on and give you guys the scoop.
That would be amazing. Please do. I look forward to speaking to you again.
Brilliant. Thanks, Callum.
Yeah, so as I say, everyone, please make sure to give us a follow at S7 Updates to keep up with all the news and other interviews with Liam, as he said he'll come back on, and other people as well. And of course, make sure to follow Liam. I think it's what's your Instagram? It's Liam _ OP. So make sure to follow him on Instagram as well. My name's Callum, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
And say hi to Connacht, and
I will do.
Keep smashing it.
I will do. Thank you very much.